So today I'm gonna talk about sustainability and veganism, and that's like what our club is about. And I thought I would bring veganism up, even though like a lot of people stray away from this topic. I know my brother does. Whenever he hears the word vegan, he's like, "Ew," even though he's like accepted it now. But we used to make jokes when we were like not like jokes, but like small jokes at when we were younger about how people were vegan and how that was just so extreme and extra, but I think we just didn't know what it was and the effects it had on the environment and how the animal agriculture has really impacted the environment and what has done. So yeah. So today I'm going to talk about some terms. So what is vegan? What is animal agriculture? Why people want to go vegan? And sustainability. So is veganism sustainable? And take action. So like, what can you do? So veganism. What is it? It's the practice of eating only food not derived from animals and typically avoiding the use of like all animal products. So that includes like leather, meat, and just other animal products. And animal agriculture. So what is animal agriculture? Animal agriculture or factory farming is common, or as it's commonly known, is the mass industrialization of breeding, raising, and slaughtering of animals for consumption or use. So why would people go vegan? I never thought I would go vegan in a million years, but I'm here. But yeah. So the most popular reasons why people go vegan are for animals. So that's like ethical reasons, health, or it's for environmental or sustainable reasons. So animals like us have a central nervous system, and so they can feel pain and emotions like us. And while some of them don't, or like there's like different levels of emotions and feelings. So like our feelings and emotions can be more complex than like, let's say, a cow. So we might have the dream of becoming a president one day, while a cow would not think that. So it shows how we have different levels of um, feelings and emotions. And I think that's what really makes people want to go vegan if they're going for animal or ethical reason, which is why I went vegan actually. I think just knowing that they feel the amount of pain that they do, and us consuming animal products is just basically paying for them to suffer. And so by stepping into their shoe, and if you've seen like the animal footages inside the farms and all, I'm sure it's like horrifying. So instead of thinking the food in front of us is food, we can think about it as an animal. There's almost a bond that's created. So by empathizing with the animal, we can create a bond and understand how they would feel. And I think that would just it's harder to eat the food in front of us if we know the pain that they suffered with. And a lot of us have been taught from a young age to care for others, or at least like not cause harm to others. But by buying animal products, we're basically paying for these animals to like suffer and go through the things that they do. And because this system is consumer based, so the more we buy something, the more they will produce. The less meat and animal products we buy, the less will be made. And in fact, I think one of the biggest dairy companies went bankrupt during COVID. And it just shows how less consumer demand equals less product. Yeah. And it's estimated that you can save around 30 animals a year by being vegan. So I think that's like a big drive for people that really care about animals. And growing up, I have a bunch of pets. I have 4 pets right now. So I think that connection really made me want to go vegan. So health, yeah, health. So one of the biggest misconception is that by eating a plant-based diet, you will not have enough nutrients or energy. I used to think, at least, that vegans were like super skinny and only, like as people said, grass, and that's not true. However, like all meals, they should be well balanced. And one of the things that people are worried about is B12, and vegans should take a B12 supplement because it's not found in the food that they eat. And non-vegans should also eat one, as it's like good for healthy diet and body. And actually, um, basically all of the animal products that are found were actually, so like let's say beef, the cows were fed B12, so that the person that ate the cow could have B12. So instead of just eating the cow, we can just eat the supplement and get the nutrients that we need. And the health benefits associated with plant-based diets are pretty significant. The American Journal of Clinical Nutrition reported in 2009 that vegan diet followers tend to have lower body weights, lower blood pressure, and lower cholesterol. It's also found that vegan individuals consume more fiber, folate, vitamin C, vitamin E, potassium, and magnesium, and less saturated fat. But it should be all kept in mind that a well-balanced diet is like super important. So I think this is what is most important today. So environment. Why is veganism good for the environment? The animal agriculture industry is using lots of land, water, resources that we could use as humans. So a single cow uses a lot of land just for them to graze. And this is because in order to feed all the animals, it uses much of the land, with 26% of the planet's ice-free land being used for livestock grazing and 33% of croplands for livestock feed production. And as we continue to let these animals graze more, we're cutting down more trees, we're pushing out the native animals, and that's decreasing biodiversity because the native animals are being pushed out, and instead are put like cows, chickens, pigs for them to just graze, or the crops that the animals eat. That's like a lot more than what us humans eat. That's also forcing animals to be pushed out. So this is kind of tied in with environment, but as COVID-19 has clearly affected all of us, I think we all know that it originated from a wet market, and more specifically animals. And factory farms aren't much different from these places, as they are filled with manure, corpse, and cramped animals that provide like the perfect breeding ground for disease and viruses. It is estimated that roughly 80% of total antibiotics used around the world are used within the animal food industry. And these animals are fed antibiotics to prevent them from getting sick or getting these diseases or viruses. But as they're fed more and more, the viruses are able to adapt and mutate, which makes them stronger and harder to fight. And besides COVID-19, there were other animal-related sicknesses, including swine flu, E. coli, and the bird flu. And workers are also exploited in the animal agriculture industry. So they're often like very close or carry diseases and viruses. And these dangerous conditions could potentially cause a virus that's even more dangerous than COVID-19. And I think COVID-19 has really shown that that we're pretty not prepared for something like this. And if we even get something more dangerous than this, it could like totally ruin us. So yeah. And some fun facts, well, not really fun, but if we all went vegan, the world's food-related emissions would drop by 70% by 2050. And eating a vegan diet is like basically the biggest way to reduce your environmental impact on Earth. And cutting meat and dairy from your diet can reduce an individual's carbon footprint from food by 73%. Research has also shown that if like basically everyone became vegan, we can basically solve world hunger because the land we use for animals to graze and also the land we use to feed these animals is enough to feed basically every single human on this planet. And I know that a lot of people, or at least I thought that grass grass-fed animals or pasture animals is like very sustainable because like there is enough like land for them to graze. It's more ethical. All the emissions are basically gone because there's like grass and all, but it's actually less sustainable than factory farming because it uses more land and it feeds much less people than factory farming. So like basically none of it's really good. And so is veganism sustainable? So veganism or a plant-based diet is sustainable. It's estimated that a plant-based diet can reduce water by 50%. This review also found that greenhouse gas emissions and land use could be reduced by as much as 70 to 80%. And overall, a vegan diet is pretty sustainable. And while a plant-based diet is sustainable, we should also take account the parts that aren't sustainable. So, for example, transporting food from one place to another takes a lot of energy and fuel. And while it certainly isn't as bad as animal agriculture emissions, out of season fruits and vegetables aren't good for the environment, which is why it's best to eat locally grown fruits and vegetables or in-season food. And eating a plant-based diet also isn't made for places where eating a more carnivorous diet would be more sustainable. For example, in like Arctic communities where it's much more sustainable to eat like, let's say, seals instead of transporting fruits and vegetables all the way from one place to their place where it just take too much energy. And so I just want to wrap this up with some things that you can do. So I just want to say that being vegan is obviously a privilege because not everyone can follow this diet or lifestyle. And while you might not be able to do it, I encourage people to include more plant-based options into their diet. And as plant-based options get more popular, the prices will eventually go down for things because, as I said before, it's a consumer and demand system. So the more popular something is, the more accessible it will be. And so that more people can try these plant-based options, and overall, the prices will also go down. And a plant-based diet would be the best way to cut down on emissions and personal footprint. But obviously, I don't know if you want to go vegan the next day, but I mean, you could, but a gradual shift is a lot better. So I went from pescatarian to vegetarian to vegan, and I think that really helped me because my body was able to adjust to the changes in my diet. And also, it's like pretty hard sometimes because I remember the first day I went pescatarian, my mom bought like some meat bun, and it was like one of my favorite things. But I think if you just suddenly cut something out instead of giving it some time, it's like pretty hard. But as you like have a more gradual shift, you'll get used to things. And for me now, I don't even crave any of the meat or animal products that I used to love. And there's a lot of substitutes these days for animal products, including butter, milk, meat, and even eggs. And this can really help with transition or just sharing it with family because I know that a lot of people, let's say like a student right now, can't really choose what they're eating. And so their family might haven't like is like the biggest impact for them on their diet. But if you can really just substitute a few things without like changing much, it can really open people's mind. Because I know my brother and I used to, or at least a lot of people used to think that like vegan food's like disgusting because it's not going to taste good, but it actually tastes almost like really good, and it can really just open you up to like a whole new like that thing of food. Yeah. And buying local or in season fruits and vegetable is really good, as it's like sustainable. And even consider making your own garden, because I have one right now, and the process of watching the plants grow is like really fulfilling, and being able to harvest the food and knowing that you took care of the plants and the effort you put in, it's like really fulfilling. And also, there's a lot of information out there that talks about veganism and sustainability. One of my favorite YouTuber is Earthling Ed. He does a great um, explanation on why you should be vegan, and he's basically the reason why I went vegan. But he's like a great person that explains things really well. And there's also movies out there like Cowspiracy, Seaspiracy, for environmental, and then Dominion if you really care about ethics. That one's pretty hard to watch, but if you really do, it's like a great documentary. And then there's Game Changer, What the Health, for health reasons. And then visiting an animal sanctuary is a good way, or actually a great way, to help you connect with the animals. And so that every single time, when you see an animal products, it might just remind you of the animal that you saw, and how the animal would have been the same as the animal that you saw. And sharing the information you know about veganism and why it's sustainable is a great way to help others know about it. And all these slides will be posted on our website. So if you want to look back at it, you can. And then joining environmental groups to learn more information is good, like at my club or the Freeman Youth Council. So yeah, yeah. Thank you.